rocket had just been launched from North Korea. The South Korean government reacted by ordering every citizen in Seoul to evacuate.
War never changes.
And sent every resident a text message to their phone with the same message.
Get the fuck out of this!
Over in Japan, the same situation was currently unfolding. South Korea hadn't had an evacuation notice in over 70 years. People were panicking. They had no idea what to do. Most of them scrambled out of bed and began preparing to get out, but many were mid-league game and had to endure the possible annihilation of their city. The capital is full of underground bomb shelters, but no one pays any attention to where they're located.
So did you know that there's a bomb shelter over there?
I didn't know that. I've never noticed that.
전혀 몰랐는데 저 여기 12년 동안 장사했는데 그런 소리 오늘 처음 들었어요.
Now, Kimmy's hermit kingdom of North Korea fascinates most people in the free world. But not the South Koreans. They don't give a shit what their noisy neighbors in the north are up to.
I don't think I've ever met anyone in Korea who was like really worried about that.
I've actually never thought about it. No.
Kim Jong can cry and scream and piss his little pants.
Excuse me.
But the South Koreans pay no interest. But on May 31st, all those repressed thoughts and feelings all came rushing back. Was this it? Was it finally time for the 70-year war to restart? Officially, the war never ended in 1953, and since then, every South Korean man had to enroll in the military, just in case this situation happened. Even Korea's most beloved K-pop artist was drafted into the military, Psy. But 9 minutes after the sirens woke every resident in Seoul, the message changed.
안전이 먼저입니다. 서울 시민 여러분, 대피를 준비해 주시기 바랍니다. 노인과 우리의 실수라고 합니다. 죄송합니다. 일상생활로 복귀해 주시기 바랍니다.
The nuke that was about to turn Seoul into Fallout 77 turned out to be the DPRK's terrible space program. Kim Jong and the boys got together and built themselves a satellite that they could put in orbit so they can spy on any country that was against their regime. So pretty much all of them. The only problem was, how would they get it into orbit?
I have a dream, a song to sing.
They hired the least malnourished scientists North Korean money could buy, and they got to work, knowing that if they failed, Kimmy would probably shoot them in the head with a rocket launcher. But after many hours of tireless work, they came up with a plan. Let's just strap it to one of our intercontinental ballistic missiles and fire it straight up. How can that fail? So they dragged a spare missile out of storage, strapped the satellite to the side of it, and fucking boom, up it went. But unfortunately, the rocket scientist's math was wrong. With so much weight on one side, the rocket didn't just go straight up, it began to turn towards the south. Oh shit. For a few moments, Kimmy watched on as his homemade missile headed towards the south. He was happy barking threats from his side of the border, but he knew he'd be fucked if it actually came to war. Fortunately for him though, the rocket kept turning and turning out towards sea. And eventually, sploosh, the rocket crashed into the ocean 200 kilometers off the coast between Korea and China. For once, the North came out and explained what they were trying to do.
영광스러운 위성을 우주로 발사했습니다. 다행히도 로켓은 발사 도중 우연히 방향을 바꿔 남쪽으로 향했습니다. 우리의 실수를 인정하는 바에나 조선인민공화국은 어떤 사과도 하지 않을 것입니다. 조선인민공화국 만세!
The South rolled their eyes and boarded a boat and raced out to retrieve the failed satellite, just to analyze how advanced the North was. This wasn't the first time testing missiles. Kim Jong-un alone has fired hundreds of test missiles in the last year, sending many of them straight over Japan. But it was their first satellite attempt since 2016. They first established their National Aerospace Development Administration in 2013, referring to how many satellites they have in space. Nada. And since then have had 6 satellite attempts, fucking up more launches than EA. Only a week earlier, the Southerners had successfully launched their own satellite into orbit, and Kim Jong was just looking for attention. So he rushed out his own launch and failed spectacularly on the world stage. But Rocket Man vowed that by 2026, they'd have a North Korean on the moon, and they'd be attempting another satellite launch in the coming weeks. And they did. 24th of August, they tried again. Japan set off their sirens again, but this time, the South didn't even bother. But North Korea's second launch failed again. This time in its third stage, one better than their last attempt, with an error in the emergency blasting system. This clearly won't be the last time that the DPRK attempts a satellite launch, and they'll continue to test and fire missiles as it's the only way they can maintain face and strike fear into their enemies. South Korea, the US, and the UN have tried many times to get the North to denuclearize.
Rocket Man is on a suicide mission for himself.
But with this as their only chip to play, it seems to be their only option until something changes. How long will this unending war continue? And how soon will North Korea have a man on the moon?